Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. As it gets closer to deer season, I got to thinking about what I was going to hunt with this year, and I figured it was time to go back to my roots, so to speak. I've got this Savage 110E and 243 that was given to me by my granddaddy when I was 16 years old, and I figured I'd show y'all it and some of the things he changed to it years ago, and talk about some of the things that I plan on doing with it. So let's jump off into that. All right, Savage 110 243. I know sometimes the Savage actions are not as desirable as a Remington 700 or a Model 70, but there's things about this that I like, and we'll talk about a little later on. For now, I want to talk about the things that my granddaddy done this rifle when he purchased it in the mid-late 80s. It had a 24-inch barrel from the factory. His idea was to make this more of a carbine to hunt with, so he cut the barrel down to about 18.5 inches. It's been recrowned. He did himself. I can get that in shot for you. It's got like a 11-degree crown with a typical hunting style rolled off crown there. He changed the looks of the rifle. Some of the things he did to the stock, he took the factory, I'm assuming this is maple, and added these accents to it. It has a walnut on the fore end there with a white band. You put a little walnut down here, and it has a 243 case head in it for a little accent, and then he made this walnut butt plate, and it's got, as you can see there, some bandsawn lines in it for a little more grip. The action is not fully bedded, but it has some bedding done where the action screws tighten up, so it makes it a little more rigid to the stock. And he free floated the barrel all the way to the action, you can see there. The scope that's on it now was originally on my 308 when I got the VX3 HD Leupold. I put this Burris on here. I believe I got this Burris years ago. One of the first things I ordered from Brownells and got these. These are just single screw Leupold rings. It served me well on my 308. And when I got this rifle, it had a cheap Simmons scope, typical of the late 80s, early 90s on it. And even though this is not a very expensive scope, it was an upgrade to that $49 Walmart, Kmart special of the day. I do have plans to eventually upgrade the rings on this and put another Leupold 3x9 on this rifle, but for now, this scope works, and it's what I'm going to run this deer season. The Savage action come out in 1957. And though it's not as desirable, as I mentioned earlier, as the 700s or the Winchester Model 70s of the era, there's things about it that I like. I personally like the straight 90-degree bolt instead of the swept back bolt that the other rifles have. I like the 90-degree bolt. I'm a big fan of the tang safety that they used here. This is not an AccuTrigger model, but there is some adjustability to my understanding in these triggers, and I haven't got into that yet, but it may be something I explore in the future. As far as action for a custom rifle, the barrel nut style barrel, to my understanding, makes it where if you wanted to take one of these rifles and put a match barrel on it or heavier barrel or whatever, you can get a really tight tolerance head spacing using this style for the home tinkerer anyway. Makes it a lot easier for people like me and everybody else, I'm sure, that watches this channel, just common everyday folks. It makes us easier to explore other options when it comes to our rifles. I've never heard of anything being necessarily weak on these actions. Another thing that makes it more customizable, in my understanding, is the floating bolt head. Being 243, this one's got the pretty common 308, 30-06, 243, all those use this style bolt head. But if you had one at a different caliber, wanted to change to a different caliber, it's my understanding that it's pretty easy to change by just taking the bolt head off and retaining your factory bolt. So the Savage, to me, has a lot going for it as far as for the everyday man and the home tinker. It's a fine action to work on yourself, in my opinion. So there you have it, my rifle that I'm gonna go back to the basics with. Growing up in Georgia, 243 is a pretty common caliber. It was, and I guess still is for people. I know there's a lot of debate on whether you need 308, 30-06, 270 or whatever, but I find here in Georgia, the 243 is a pretty handy rifle for taking white-tailed deer. I've never had a problem with it. The closer we get to deer season, y'all probably see more videos on low development for this rifle. I've got several different kind of bullets ranging from 55 grain varmint style stuff all the way up to 100 grain for more on the deer end of it. So if y'all want to drop in the comments, if you're hand loaders, what your favorite 243 bullet and load is, I'd be interested to see it and glad to discuss it with y'all. As always, I appreciate y'all coming by. If this is your first time visiting my channel, I'd ask you to like and subscribe. Go check out some of my other videos that I have. And as always, keep learning and happy shooting. Thank you for stopping by.